Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
We welcome you back to Talk of the Town for this Tuesday, January 4th. I'm Gary Stevens. It is the first Tuesday of the month, and it's time we spend feeling the Zeel. We spotlight the city of Zeeland on our Talk of the Town program. The Master Gardener, Jan Musin, will be joining us a little after 10 o'clock with the Yard and Garden Hour. She, of course, is with the Bryan Seed, Washington and Elman, downtown Zeeland. But in our first conversation segment, we are joined by Zeeland Mayor Kevin Klynstra. He's on the other end of our Zoom connection. Kevin, good morning and Happy New Year, sir.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you, Gary.
Glad you are with us. And if you have a question about what's going on in the city of Zeeland, Kevin will be a good person to ask at 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. Kevin, let's first tie up some loose ends from yesterday's meeting, the bi-weekly meeting of the city council. Some of the highlights from that meeting, I think did you get some snow clearing or snow melt straightened out? Clarify that for us, please.
Yes, last night we said that we would start the process of deciding how much the cost would be for the store owners downtown, and there'll be an assessment for that, but then that assessment will be covered by our American Rescue Plan that went into effect last year, and we have received that money now, so that it will be in the form of grants that the people can apply for to cover the cost of the putting in of the snow melt.
That's sort of like the initial assessment. So, and that's the biggest expense in that regard, Kevin, because obviously once you have the snow melt in, you still have to maintain it, and there will be an assessment on that.
That is correct. That they will have to cover, but this, they, like I said, they can apply for the grant, and then it will be covered by the American Rescue Plan funds that we have received from federal government.
What's the, I want to use the term range, but what's the scope of this snow melt project? What exactly will it entail in terms of how wide of an area are we talking about that will be involved with this?
Originally, we were just going to do our downtown from Centennial Street to State Street, and we're going to do the sidewalks, and we looked at a number of different things, the streets, the parking areas, and then we decided just to go with the sidewalks. And then the GDK Construction bought the slide building, and they would like to have the snow melt run up to their building on the sidewalk. So we looked at that, and our boiler system that we set up in the community center could cover that. So now it will run to community restaurant, actually, which is just past Maple Street. And we'll be doing both sides of the street on the Zeeland City Side Middle School in front of their buildings. And yeah, so now it's be from Maple Street to State Street.
Okay, and not just Main Avenue, but as you said, with the slide building, it'll be Washington Avenue involved with it as well.
No, it's just on Main Avenue. So the Main Avenue, the slide building is Main Street runs in the front of that.
Okay, I'm confusing with a couple of other Washington Avenue streets. Was that even consideration about maybe extending it at least for that stretch, say from Centennial to the restaurant, to the farmhouse restaurant over on the Western Gateway area?
Well, our system is set up right now, we've got to put the boilers in last year. We've put 3 larger boilers in there in the basement of the community center, and which also is used for the heat of the community center. So even if we decided not to use the boilers for the snow melt, we're putting them to good use in the community center. But we are, so we didn't want to add to it right at this time, but in the future, if everything goes well and maybe we can find another source, then we would expand it.
Okay, because I'm just thinking that that would be a natural expansion, but maybe by the end of the decade, who knows? Who knows? If you got a question for Zeeland Mayor Kevin Klynstra, he'll be happy to answer it at 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. Did the city council or the city leaders get any feedback from some of the retailers that would be involved with the snow melt that say, it's a good idea, it's nice, but if we're going to have to pay for the assessment, obviously the initial assessment's taken care of with the federal funds, but the ongoing maintenance assessment, we're going to have to pass that on to our customers, and it might raise the prices of our goods and our services. There might be some concerns along that. Did you hear any of that at all from the retailers or not?
Yeah, we had a public hearing for the store owners the 11th of November, actually. And most of it was good feedback. And we had one building owner that was a little concerned about it. But other than that, it was well received. And as I said last night at the meeting, I think we did everything in the right way. We didn't rush into it. When we started talking about the snow melt, we interviewed the store owners downtown and what they thought of it and what they would like, and we've had other meetings on it. So we've gone the slow process, and I think that was a good process to go through with a project of this magnitude. And yeah, I think all in all, they're happy with what we've presented, and a lot of them have said the cost of cleaning their carpets and getting the salt ruining things in their buildings, which will go away with the snow melt on the sidewalks, is well worth it. So,
since last we talked, Kevin, the alcohol ordinance has now been enacted, and as you mentioned, the establishments that sell liquor by the glass now have a little bit more leeway to do and be a part of the community in the sense of following the state guidelines. Since the ordinance was enacted, what's been the general feeling in the community? One of relief, one of anger, what?
To tell you the truth, Gary, I had not heard much feedback on that. I mean, I've had some questions from people what that entailed, but they really didn't say one way or the other how they felt about it. And so I think it's been well received. I know the restaurant owners appreciate it. So yeah, on that part, it's been well received.
The reason why I bring that up is that you and I know well aware that back in 2006, when the voters made the decision to allow alcohol sales by the glass or by the bottle, it was a contentious issue. A lot of people were not happy. Others were welcoming the improvements. So maybe over time, people have gotten used to the idea.
Yeah, as I said at our last show, Gary, I think the liquor license holders did a good job, and they proved that it can work in Zeeland. And a lot of fears that people had were unfounded. So yeah, I think it went well the last 14 years, and it's worked out well for Zeeland.
All right. The other thing too, along those lines, is the fact that I think part of the reason why it's been accepted it's been limited in terms of certain areas and certain establishments that really have to, to a certain extent, pass the mustard. It's not a case of anybody that can fly by night institute can come in and try to sell pass the drinks or sell the liquor in the bottle. These have to be people are willing to put down roots, and for the most part they have.
Yes, and and that's why we set it up that way. You know, Zeeland's a pretty conservative community, and we wanted to keep it that way. And we just wanted to prove to people that this will work, and it showed that it brought people to our downtown, and it helped the restaurants that are downtown. So yes, it worked well that way.
616-395-1450. If you have a question for Zeeland Mayor Kevin Klynstra, he'll be happy to answer it at 616-395-1450. Government entities such as the city of Zeeland, private businesses, public businesses as well, all have to deal with COVID vaccination policy, and that was on the agenda during last night's meeting. Just exactly what will be Zeeland's policy involving COVID-19 vaccinations?
Well, as you know, the president implemented a mandatory vaccination, but then one of the circuit courts put a stay on that, and then another circuit court decided that it was okay to go with that. So our city staff has put together a COVID ordinance that will follow OSHA rules. We have to have, if people aren't vaccinated, they have to wear a mask, and if they're inside of a vehicle or inside of a building outside, they do not. The city staff will see who's vaccinated and who's not. And and as right now, we did not say that they have to be vaccinated. So we've gone as far as to say they have to wear a mask, and they have to show that if they are vaccinated or not. And if they have to be tested. So Friday it goes before the Supreme Court, and maybe won't have to even do anything about it. We'll see how that turns out. But we had to be prepared because it takes effect next week, Monday, that we had to have the rules in place. And so our staff was right on top of it and got that done.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, like everything that's gone on over the past nearly 2 years now, flexibility and agility is going to be paramount for organizations and entities like the city of Zeeland, where, you know, one day it's these set of rules, but then it's got to change on the fly. And I think that's one thing we've learned over the outbreak, Kevin. Being flexible is almost imperative now.
You are correct. Things have changed a lot since March of 2019 when this all went into effect. And so, I think the city staff did a good job with putting this together, and it doesn't overstep the bounds of the city with the employees. And I think we're being fair to them.
Kevin, the budget making process, I believe, gets underway for the city of Zeeland this month. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, at the end of the month, 24th and 25th, I believe it is, we're going to have our goal setting session. And for 2 nights, it usually takes about 4 hours every night that we go through and find out what we want to spend our money on next year, and then they go from there and they make the budget. So we listen to all the department heads, and they request what they would like to see in the coming year, and then we have city council members that they put in their suggestions, what they would like to see happen in the coming year. And in the future too. So it's not just for this year, it's for the following year and up to 5-6 years in the future. So it's an important time. It's probably one of the most important things that we do in the year. And we usually have a good time by doing it. Our staff has done it a number of times, so they know what they're doing, and city council has gone through it a number of times. So it's a good working process.
616-395-1450. Good morning. You're on the line with Zeeland Mayor Kevin Klynstra.
Good morning. I read in the Sentinel several weeks ago about a proposed plan to take out a couple of the storefronts down there on the
Yes,
and make a pathway from the parking lot to
Yep.
the downtown. Could you tell me a little more about that? Why that's a good idea?
Yes, we bought the buildings of 137 and 135 East Main. If maybe you remember where Zeeland Floral used to be, it's that building. It's been recently used as a antique store, and they decided that they wanted to work out of by their house. So we thought it was in it. This is something we've been talking about for a long time. And we decided now would be a good time to see if we could purchase those buildings. And so, yeah, that whole area will not be used as a walkthrough, but we would like to have a walkthrough, and we're going to put it out to developers to see once what they would like to see happen there, and if it follows our vision. Right now, our vision shows that we would like to have a multi-story building, a mixed-use building, and then incorporate a pathway in there as well.
Okay, I was just wondering where that stood and what exactly were the plans.
All right. Appreciate the call. 616-395-1450. Good morning. You're on the line with Zeeland Mayor Kevin Klynstra.
Are those two buildings that are going to be torn down, are they historical buildings?
No, I wouldn't say that. They're like any of the other stores downtown. They're old, but these buildings were they needed some help, and so we decided that was a nice spot to have it done, and I think if everything goes as planned, what be put there in its place will be a big improvement for our downtown.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the call. 616-395-1450. One more thing, Kevin, before we button up our conversation this morning, talking about the budget making process and the two sessions to go over goal setting sessions that the city council will have with city staff. What about the public's input? Obviously, the Open Meetings Act, these meetings will be open to the public. What about public input into the budget making process in Zeeland? What exactly can the public do in terms of making their feelings known to council members on the spending plan for fiscal 2023?
Well, like you said, the meetings are open to the public, and this is only the first step. We have this goal setting session, and then in March, at the end of March, we have the budget hearings, and that way we put the final touches on the budget. And then in May, 1st of May, we have a public hearing for the budget. And like you said, these are all open to the public. And usually at the public hearing in May, that's the first meeting we have in May, it is the chance for them to put their input in, but they can put it in anytime they would like.
Okay, I was just thinking because like in Holland, they have the coffee with council sessions, which are coming up this week, I believe, to deal the budget making process there. So I just was kind of wondering whether or not, how people can get their thoughts early and sort of in the process as well.
Well, our email addresses are on the webpage, and they can contact us. And I'm sure they see me walking around town a lot. They can talk to me then. But yeah, it's we tried having coffee with council a number of years ago. It didn't work so well, and we only had a few people show up. So, but yeah, we're always open for comments from the public.
Zeeland Mayor Kevin Klynstra, I want to thank you very much for joining us this morning on WHTC's Talk of the Town. Wish you and everybody in Zeeland well over the month of January. And if all goes well, let's chat again in the month of February. Thank you, sir.
Very good, Gary. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin Klynstra, 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.